Hey
Hi
gang,
everyone.
hey. Hope everyone's good. Hello, 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 hello. Sorry, a few last minute technical hiccups there, but we're getting going and people are still dropping in. I hope you're all having a wonderful Tuesday. You've all got a cup of tea or a coffee and something to eat. And it is my hope and expectation that I'm going to give you all some absolute gold that you can take back into your businesses over the next hour. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Peter Moles. I'm the founder of Outside Ideas and Mastermind9, and I've spent my entire career pretty much in sales. I've read countless books on sales and prospecting, and I've been working with small businesses over the last 7 years, one on one, to help them grow their business and succeed through sales. Before we get going, I'd love to see a little show of hands from some people. How many of you think that being in business is easy? Yeah, no. There really aren't that many hands I can see there going up. Okay, cool. A different question. How many of you think that being in business would be a little bit easier if you were making more money? Any shows of hands there? Perfect. There's a few. Okay, great stuff. So look, the truth is, whether you're starting out in your business journey or you're looking to refine your approach, the challenges I'm going to talk about to you are real, and the tools that I'm going to share a little bit later on, in my opinion, are essential for any business owner who's wanting to see real growth in their business this year. If you find what we're discussing today valuable, at the end, I'm going to be sharing an opportunity for some of you who I don't know to join members of our mastermind groups on an 8-week Mastermind9 sales accelerator, where we're going to help you to gain the competence and confidence to make more sales in 2025. Without further ado, we're going to jump in. Let's start with why getting good at sales is so critical. Did you know that 80% of small business owners fail within the first 5 years? Most of you probably had heard that stat before. But number one and primary reason for that failure is a lack of consistent sales and revenue. We don't often think about the two simultaneously, but that's the fact. A great product or service is not enough. Sales and making sales is what's going to keep your doors open in 2025 and beyond. Here's another stat for you. 60% of buyers say no 4 times before they end up saying yes. Now, I know this is true because I can see Katie Aldridge smiling at me, and she said no to me about 25 times before she said yes to me. The really interesting thing is that most of us, as small business owners, only ever ask once and then we give up. And that's a huge missed opportunity. But it's not just about persistence. According to HubSpot, 42% of salespeople said that they lacked the data or strategy to really succeed in sales. And that's where having a clear process, one like the process that we're going to cover today, can make a real difference to your business. So here's what we're going to cover. First, I'm going to walk you through 4 key areas that I've identified that people need to fix if they want to make more sales. They're very common challenges that most people on this call are going to be able to relate to. Then I'm going to give you some practical tips that you can start using immediately, and we'll tick some of those off throughout the hour. And then finally, in the last few minutes, I'm going to introduce you to the Sales Accelerator, which is an 8-week program designed to help you build a repeatable sales process that's going to get you more business in 2025. Of course, I've got an unbelievable deal for people who aren't interested, who aren't members of our mastermind group. But for those of you who are in one of our mastermind groups, the offer is unended. We give you unlimited support on this sort of stuff, and it's included in the membership. So let's get into it. Okay, so I've told you that there are 4 areas that you can work on to improve your sales capability. Let's look at the first one, and I'm sure most of you will be able to relate. I see this as where a lot of business owners that I know hit the wall. For many small business owners, sales is one of the hardest parts of running a business. And it's not just because they don't believe that their product or service, it's because selling can feel really uncomfortable and almost sometimes make you feel a little bit sick. I literally have spoken to lots of people who feel that way. Whether it's a fear of coming across as being pushy, the anxiety of being rejected, or the nagging feeling of being a little bit too salesy. These thoughts create a mental block that for some people it's hard to overcome. One of the biggest challenges is reframing what selling actually means. Too often we see sales as persuading someone to part with their money, which can feel transactional and sometimes downright manipulative. And this misunderstanding creates a deep sense of discomfort, especially in those who genuinely want to help others and add value, which is most of us, right? Or all of us, right? We just want to help people. And that's where the ick factor really creeps in. It's this disconnect between your desire to do a good job and the fear that selling compromises that integrity in some way. And then there's the imposter syndrome. So many of us face it, and you might question whether you're truly even worthy of making a sale. Some of you might relate to thoughts like, am I really good enough? What if they find out that I don't have it all figured out? Those sorts of thoughts creep in and they can sap your confidence. Instead of stepping forward boldly, you hold back, avoiding sales conversations, and when you do have them, undervaluing what you bring to the table. I honestly see it all the time. It's like a vicious circle of self-doubt, which leads to hesitation and which leads to fewer leads, fewer opportunities, and it reinforces that feeling that you're not really good enough. 80% of people fail. This is one of the major reasons. And then finally, you've got the kind of pressure for small business owners. Every sale feels personal. I know that it feels very personal to me. It's tied to your self-worth and your survival. The stakes are really high, and that can make selling feel like an emotional minefield, especially when you've got a team of people and mortgages that you're supporting. When every no feels like a rejection of you, it's not just your offer, it's hard not to take it to heart. And that emotional weight can lead to procrastination or avoiding sales altogether, even when you know it's really crucial for your business. So the mindset trap is something that many small business owners struggle with. And it's the first thing that we're going to cover in today's session in the fixes, but also in the first 2 weeks of the Accelerator program. Okay, next up, prospecting. Building a strong targeted pipeline so that you're always talking to the right people is really important. Prospecting is one of the biggest challenges for many business owners and salespeople. Often it feels like you're casting a really wide net, but not catching anything worthwhile. You might find yourself talking to the wrong people, those who are uninterested, unqualified, or simply not as good a fit for your product or service. And that leads to frustration, wasted time, an unpredictable pipeline that leaves your sales efforts feeling like a bit of a roller coaster. The reason that so many people struggle with prospecting is a lack of clarity and strategy. And without a clear understanding of who your ideal customer is, where they are, what they need, where they want to spend their time, you essentially throw in darts in the dark, hoping that something's going to stick. It's also really easy to get caught up in being reactive, chasing down random opportunities instead of proactively building a pipeline filled with qualified leads, which is what we all want, right? So problem 2 or challenge 2 is fixing or building a strong pipeline. And we've got processes. We all love processes, right? Creating a repeatable sales system that takes the guesswork out of your approach and ensures consistency. Processes are really the backbone of every successful business. But for small business owners, they often feel like a bit of an afterthought. We are always getting pulled in lots of different directions: client work, admin, staff, management, firefighting, all of the daily surprises that come from running a business. And there's often very little room to step back and think about the process that you should be following, let alone refine them. Sales processes in particular, I think, are one of the most neglected because sales feels urgent. Sales always feel urgent. Business owners are often chasing the next client or contract to keep cash flow ticking over, leaving no time to really strategize. It's easy to get stuck in to a reactive cycle, making phone calls, sending emails, or following leads in an ad hoc way without having any real structure. And while that approach might lead to some short-term wins, it's not really sustainable for the long term if you want to grow your business. Another challenge is creating sales process that doesn't feel like it's a priority until it's too late. So I think without a sales process, sales efforts are often inconsistent and hard to scale or delegate. So there we go, process. And then finally, follow up. Honestly, it's where I see an awful lot of potential deals slip through people's fingers. It's a really common thing. You either follow up too much and you scare them off, or you don't follow up enough and someone else snags the deal at the last minute. Having a strong, structured follow-up strategy is absolutely critical to closing more sales. If we don't keep at it, all of the effort we put in initially might as well be wasted. We need a plan that helps us keep in the game without being overbearing. We need to find the sweet spot where we're persistent, but not pesky. So there we go. The 4 areas: mindset, prospecting, processes, and follow-up lay the foundation of where most of the challenges with people's sales are coming from, in my opinion. And they're the areas that we're going to work on over the 8 weeks starting in February for those people who are up for it. So before we get into the fixes, how you can solve some of the challenges that you might be having with your sales, I wanted to take a moment just to reflect on where you feel you are right now. If you feel comfortable to share publicly, then fine, by all means do it. Put your numbers into the chat. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, then absolutely no worries. But what I'd like you to do is rate yourself from 1 to 5 on each of those 4 areas. Starting with mindset, on a scale of 1 to 5, how confident do you feel in your sales conversations? On a scale of 1 to 5, how confident do you feel in your sales conversations? Next up, are you consistently building a pipeline of qualified leads? Again, on a scale of 1 to 5. After that, processes. Do you follow a repeatable sales process with clear stages time after time, or is it completely ad hoc? And then finally, are you structured and persistent in your follow-up? Are you like me, where you just are pleasantly persistent until they finally buckle in like Katie and say yes? Or do you give up after the first attempt? Because if they wanted you, I'm not looking at the chat. Sarah, is there anyone brave, feeling brave?
Yeah, loads of people. There's a mixed bag. I was like, oh,
Okay.
I've got any 5s yet? And then Rhoda struck in there with a 5 on mindset.
Fabulous.
But you're right, like there doesn't seem to be anybody that is consistently high across all 4. Definitely
Yeah.
not.
And I would say that's absolutely normal, right? We will always have things that we are doing better than other things. We'll always have things that we enjoy more. We'll always have things that we enjoy that we spend more time on than others. But I think what I'm trying to do here is encourage you to just look at the gaps and then go, how can I make that a little bit better? And that's really what the accelerator's all about. So here we go. Let's get into the fixes for these things. The first fix for our mindset is most people think sales is about convincing someone to buy. But I learned from my good friend Bob Berg, the author of The Go-Giver, that successful salespeople focus on helping people, not selling. That's a really useful mindset shift to get into. You're not looking to sell anything to anyone. You're looking to be helpful to people. There's a great quote by the late, great Zig Ziglar that I often reference. You can have anything in your life that you want if you'll only help enough people get what they want. And obviously, the key word is help. But so many of us small business owners think it's about selling and being pushy. And if you just reframe that word, sell, to help, it can be transformational to the times that you pick up the phone. When you shift your mindset to helping, it changes the energy of the conversation, actually. Prospects will feel the difference and trust builds much faster. We always can tell when someone is trying to sell us something and it feels like horrible, to be honest with you, but we can also feel when someone is genuinely trying to help. So just lead with help. Imagine the scenario. You're meeting a potential client who's stressed about their workload. We're all massively overworked as business owners, and they're stressed out. And instead of focusing on closing the deal, you twist it and you ask how you can help lighten the load. That subtle shift in mindset will make them feel understood and valued in the moment, and it will buy you significantly more brownie points than trying to push on making the sale in that moment. So it's all well and done me saying how mindset, just change your mindset, but it's not necessarily easy to do. How can we fix our mindset? I personally use very simple tools like affirmations and visualizations, which are scientifically proven to boost confidence over many studies. If you look at successful people time and time and time again across sport, across business, across theatre, across the arts, across science. If you look at those people, they visualize and affirm. For example, before a sales call, remind yourself that you're here to help the person solve a problem. Or something that I do literally before every single phone call is I visualize the conversation going well. I visualize some of the things that I'm going to say, which will help, which will make the person that I'm speaking to get excited about my solution. I practice it in my mind before I do it for real. And there's an element to say it's where the power of a mastermind group comes in, right? Having a safe space with supportive peers to share your fears, normalize the unknown, get some accountability. It can make tackling mindset challenges really empowering. We see phenomenal breakthroughs with the people who are in our mastermind groups because they're told by other people, you're brilliant, go do it. It can have a great impact on your mindset. Some studies have shown that individuals have a 65% chance of achieving their goals when they commit it to another person. And that likelihood increases to 95% when they have a specific accountability buddy and actions in place. And they can have it can have a really massive impact. So if you want to fix your mindset, I would encourage you to do three things. Surround yourself with positive, growth-focused people. Visualize the success that you're going to have and affirm to yourself over and over again that you're helping people, that you're doing good, that you are worthy of creating the money that you're going to create. Now, as a little Brucey bonus for being here, I'm going to share with you, I think Sarah's going to share with you, a little 5-minute Spotify audio by Paul McKenna, and it's I Can Make You Confident. Some people know I had a bit of a rocky time between Christmas and New Year, and I think I listened to that audio 40 or 50 times over 4 days. Sarah's going to put it in the chat. And I think that can have a really good impact on your mindset. So there we go. That's mindset. Fixes for prospecting. So your sales pipeline is only ever as strong as your prospecting efforts. So what I want you to think about, and I'm repeating some of the stuff here from our marketing accelerator, which came before the sales accelerator last year. I want you to think, if you're having a challenge with prospecting, I want you to start by identifying 200 prospects. These are people who should and could fit your ideal customer avatar, client avatar, ideal client profile, whatever you want to call it. These are people who you can genuinely help. Once you've identified 200, that's far too many people to have any meaningful conversations with. So I want you to then narrow it down to 30. So target 200 and then focus on 30. The ones that you think are the most likely to convert. And then I want you to spend your energy and your focus on those people. Another useful tip I would say is don't forget wow moments, those thoughtful little touches that will make you stand out in the sales process. And we will cover that in process as well, but I think it's worthwhile talking about it in prospecting as well. So one of our clients from the Marketing Accelerator, which came last year, sent out handwritten cards to their prospects mentioning specific achievements that they admired from those prospects. And that one activity resulted in a 50% response rate. And from that response rate, she landed 3 new clients. Wow moments don't necessarily have to be expensive, like a quick targeted LinkedIn messaging, referencing someone's post, or sending a personalized gift, or sending a handwritten letter. There are lots of things that you can do, but those small gestures in the prospecting stage can significantly speed up you getting in front of people, and ultimately will help you lead to sales. Fix number 3 for processes. This is a big one. And there are a bunch of processes that I'm going to talk about. But if you want to make more sales, for me, it is essential that you create repeatable processes that will build confidence for you and for your prospects. When I talk about sales processes, I'm really suggesting that you focus on creating processes around 4 key areas. The first is getting to pain. The second is the presentation of your product or service. The third is how you propose your solution. And then the fourth is your follow-up. So 4 key processes that you need to work on. If you focus on creating processes for those 4 areas, it will ensure a really consistent, reliable set of interactions with your prospects, and it will help you make more money. So just breaking it down further, with pain, I would encourage you to start by developing a discovery script or a fact-finding worksheet or whatever you want to call it, where you're going to include open-ended questions. There'll be some standard questions, and then there are going to be some questions in there that push a little bit harder on things like challenges, the biggest challenges that they're facing right now, or how the problem affects them and stops them from hitting their goals. Those structured conversations will always uncover the real pain points, and they're what are really valuable. You speak to any marketeer, they will tell you that people buy to get away from pain. So that's where we need to start in the sales process. Next up, you need a process around the presentation, and the presentation should be targeted to the pain points that you've identified directly. So what I'd like you to encourage you to do is create a presentation checklist to ensure that you're really highlighting the outcomes that they'll get, not just the features. Next up, the proposal. So after you've done the presentation, we've got a proposal. And I'd like to encourage you to create a proposal template that includes a summary of the client's pain, your tailored solution, a timeline, and then really clear pricing. A really important tip here is to always schedule time to review the proposal together. How many of you will put your hand up and admit that sometimes you just send a proposal off into the ether and you wait for them to respond? How many? I'm looking at 50% of the room that are doing that. Stop it. Stop it. If you're going to invest time in creating a proposal, get them to invest time in reviewing it with you. That is a really important step in the process that you need to make sure that you're doing. And then finally, the follow-up. It's really important to plan every next step before the current interaction ends. So you should only ever really be looking to sell the next step. So many people fall into this trap, and they leave lots and lots of money on the table because they just don't have a very well-defined follow-up process. And it needs to feel like sales needs to feel like a dance. People don't want to be sold to, they want to buy, and they want to buy in a way that they want to buy. So the follow-up process will enable you to do a dance with your prospect that leads to a natural win. You can use things like CRMs to track progress and keep the momentum going. We'll talk more about that in the accelerator. And then finally, fix 4. Number 4 is so important, the follow-up, that on top of it being one of the key processes that we think that you need to nail, we're devoting a whole 2-week block to it. It's where most of the sales are won or lost. 80% of sales require 5 or more follow-ups. But as I said earlier, most people stop at 1 or 2. And then, it's really where persistence pays off. The key to an effective follow-up is planning the next step before the current conversation ends and making sure that the prospect has agreed to it, as I've just said. At the end of the proposal discussion, you might say, we need to spend time to review the proposal together. How's next Thursday? We can go over any questions that you've got and decide how to move forward. The follow-up doesn't have to feel pushy. It should feel like a communication and a conversation showing your commitment to helping them solve the problem. And if I was you, I would look to leverage multiple communication channels to stay in touch during that time. So email, LinkedIn, phone calls, even a quick handwritten note if it's appropriate during that follow-up stage. Diversifying your approach will increase the chance of getting a response. So there we go. There are the 4 fixes to the 4 most common sales challenges. We have covered a lot, and I hope that you're feeling inspired to take your sales to the next level. But knowing what to do is only part of the equation. So I said I would talk about the Sales Accelerator. It promises, and I promise you, to give you the tools, guidance, and accountability to implement these strategies and see some real results for you and your business. Like I said, it's an 8-week program designed to help you fix your mindset, prospecting, processes, and follow-up so you can win more deals with confidence. For each area, we're going to dedicate 2 weeks to it. The first week will be a really interactive learning session with the group where we'll cover the core concepts and I'll introduce you to the tools that you're going to need and the homework that you're going to have to do. This isn't a silver bullet, guys. There's going to be work required from you each week if you're wanting to grow and get better at sales. And then the following week, we'll have a live Q&A, an accountability session where you can come and share wins. You can come and use that time if you want to get stuff done, where we'll support each other, and I and Sarah and the rest of the team will be there to answer any questions that you've got. That process is going to repeat for each content block. So there'll be a dedicated WhatsApp group for support and support from the team throughout the course. And then obviously all sessions are recorded. So if you do sign up and you miss one, then we'll record it for you to follow up afterwards. So there we go. I told you that there was going to be a special offer for those of you who aren't Mastermind9 clients. If you're a Mastermind client, you can just literally sign up and get going straight away. If you're not a Mastermind9 client, the normal value of the accelerator is £300 plus VAT for the 8 weeks. We've benchmarked what's going on in business support elsewhere, and we think that's already incredible value. But we've got a deal for people today, whereby if you sign up by 5 p.m. tonight, we'll take 125 plus VAT off of that price. So you'll get it for 175 plus the VAT. If any of you want to do that, stick around afterwards. I'll answer any questions that you've got. But that's it from us. If you are a Mastermind9 client, just let myself, Sarah, Laura know, and we'll get you signed on.